Hello and welcome to another episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. As always, I am your beloved host, Spamuel, and don't call it a combat, because he's a plain old engineer. It's king of the combat engineers himself, Nathan. How are you, buddy?
I am Samuel. Are you Samuel?
I am doing okay. Did you come up with that all by yourself?
I did. It's a moment of genius, but it's not as good as being a combat, which is like a communications bat. I like that one. That was very well played by you. Is that what you meant?
It is, in fact, exactly what I meant.
Oh, right.
Excellent.
Yes.
Now, we don't have a lot of time this fine evening. So a lot of people have been expecting our episode on the squats. And what people seem to have been forgetting is I have been incredibly busy. I'm on call at work. And as such, my time is unfortunately very finite. And for those of you who did listen to our last episode, I have actually been on the campaign trail. Spamuel has been politicking as the verb? Is that a verb?
Politicking.
Is verb a doing word? Or is that a consonant?
Yes, it is.
I don't know. I'm an electrician.
That's like where countries are kept. In those areas, in the consonants.
The consonant and vowels of landmass. No, I've been politicking. I've been doing all the things I should be. I've been kissing hands and shaking babies. And let me tell you, people get really excited when I come up to them and try to talk policy. Something about, please no, stay away. That's what they want my opponents to do, Nathan. I am really getting on board with this. Vote Spamuel 2025. And remember, no matter what the election is, no matter what country, county, district, wherever you live, vote Spamuel 2025. It is corruption you can count on, and it is something that you know is going to benefit only myself. Thank you and good night. But to the actual episode, because...
Can I say... No, wait. I need to say something here. So, have you ever heard of donkey voting? That's pretty much where you waste your vote.
Do you mean Don Quixote? Is he in a book?
For you, yes. Yes, the Don Quixote voting system. That's pretty much where you waste your vote. However, if people were to vote for you, it would actually be donkey voting. You're looking this up, aren't you?
Right. It would be a Spanish novel by Miguel de Cervantes, originally published in two parts in 1605 and 1615. I don't understand the reference.
A 10-year break. Whoa, buddy. Like, don't ride on the coattails of your first novel. Actually put an effort in. Pump it out like 3 years later. Man, it's like he was the original George R.R. Martin.
George R.R. Martin actually published his first novel in 1605, and we're still waiting for the sequel. So, whenever Mr. Martin wishes to publish the next sort of book in the Lord of the Rings series, I think we're all really going to be looking forward to it.
That is the... Whatever love that you are trying to generate from the internet, you have lost all of it completely.
Or they're going to get so angry at me, they're going to vote for me out of spite. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. This is the type of corruption you can count on. Not just political, not just social, not just militaristic, but also I'm going to ruin your favourite things. And I won't do that to specifically you if you vote for me in your next upcoming election. Vote Spamuel 2025.
If you have an election, don't vote for him, please. Make your vote count. We live in a well, I don't know where everybody lives, but if you're in Australia and we have an upcoming election, do not vote for him, please.
I'm voting for myself. I'm gonna vote for myself, and I actually want to get one of those campaign posters made that just has a picture of my face and just be like, vote for me because you're wasting your vote anyway.
Or vote for the Trumpeter Patriots, which is one of the best party names I've ever seen. Don't want to do it.
None of their signs have trumpets on them. It's honestly, like, there's Trumpeter Patriots. What about like Piano of Anarchists? Vote for Piano of Anarchists. Vote for Spamuel 2025. Piano solos everywhere. Saxophones. That's it. Boom. That's my whole campaign slogan now. Saxophones.
I would love it. Whoever does the campaign posters for you just messes it up and just has like sexy phones on there. just like,
okay,
I think that's what he said. Anyway,
stop.
All right,
we have limited time. We are supposed to be doing a podcast. You're interrupting my politicking.
No. Quick catch up then. Yes. How have you been? What have you been up to?
Kissing hands, shaking babies. Being followed by a lot of police. Don't know why. Banned from daycares. But yeah, apart from that, I'm doing Samuel. I'm actually doing Samu pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, really good, mate. Really good. I have been pumping through a lot of 40k at the minute in preparation for this tournament.
Yep.
And actually, we are planning on going to a tournament soonish, correct? Am I correct in saying that?
You are correct in saying that. There is a Necromunda event here in Melbourne, like mid-May.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was thinking sort of Mayish. Like, I will have no time to prepare, which the last couple of Necromunda tournaments I've gone to, I've had a lot of time to prepare.
You just didn't show up the second day.
I was very sick, thank you very much. But yeah, I'm actually super G'd up to get to play some more Necromunda, which I haven't really played since probably the end of last year.
Yeah, so it's the Necrolympics we're going to. And it is a 1 day, I think 2,000 credit event. I should know, I'm the one who's trying to talk you into it. And yes, it is on May 18th of 2025 at the Blackburn RSL. And
nice.
Yeah, man, it's 2,000 credits, I want to say. It's house
almost
games.
Like a mini Iron Man sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like an Iron Man thing. It looks pretty sick. So, I'm going to need to learn how to play real quick because I don't think I'm going to get away with just my regular good looks and distracting people and smashing their models with hammers.
No, do you know what? I'm surprised it's got you this far, to be honest.
Yeah. I play a lot of games against myself, so it's...
I'm winning! Okay.
I'm winning, but I'm so sad.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got 40k on the brain, but Necromunda on the horizon. So, I think people who've listened to the podcast before have heard about my sort of plans for this year to try and get as much done as possible in terms of miniature gaming. So, yeah, if you want to know more about our hobby, please jump on and have a listen to our hobby diary.
Yeah, which will be coming out like the week after this. But we also have, I think, like 12 of them up already. So
yes, we do.
Like 12 or 8 or
8. Something. We sort of, I guess, Archromunda's our lead up to our hobby diaries. So, you know, we sort of build around that, and then it starts afresh, I guess, in a way. So we already have a couple up since the last Archromunda, which are, you know, just a few insights about our hobby and the hobby in general. So yeah, get into it.
All right.
Get into it. Speaking of getting into it,
tight. First, we have a new Patreon. We only have one Patreon this fortnight so far since our last episode.
What tattoo for you?
Yeah, no, I don't think our audience is tough enough to make me get butt tattoo. I think they're a bunch of sookie lalas who are too scared for me to show the power of my butt to the internet. That same thing can't be said for our brand new Patreon. and I'm going to say this one because there is no way you will be able to pronounce this name. Tuka Kaikinen. Thank you for joining us, Tuka.
Bless you. Sorry? Did you
sneeze? And if you are like Tuka and you enjoy the show and are interested in supporting the podcast, please shoot over to patreon.com/the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. We are 100% funded by the goodwill of our audience and the allowance our wives give us on a monthly basis. Though we do this for the love of our hobby. Each month we have a Patreon exclusive episode or two, as well as competitions, polls on episodes, and other bonus content. If you are looking for another way to support us, get onto our social media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. A like, comment, subscribe, and occasional bank account details do help us grow and get our particular brand of lore out into the world. All of the links will be in the show notes. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform. Now, Nathan, I haven't told you a lot about this episode.
No, not at all. Which has been, I guess, a blessing, I think.
It's a blessing.
But,
Let's let you catch us up on some sleep as opposed to me just constantly sending you things and saying, learn this. But I would like to read you an email from a listener. I'm assuming he listens, by the name of Tom. Now, hello, Underhive Lorekeepers. I am a big fan of the show, though, Sam, you need to stop talking so much, naughty word, about Manchester United, because much like Nathan,
like
I am a fan. So, firstly, Tom, loser. But I am...
No, Tom, champion. You don't listen to this fool of a man. Insert several naughty words, Samuel.
I am looking at doing some Xenos in some of my gangs, and am looking at getting more information on some of the Xenos you guys think would actually be on Necromunda. Would love to get some feedback on some gang ideas I do have, but would obviously love to get yours first. Then he goes in for about 7 or 8 paragraphs on just how much he does care for me, respects my opinion, and how he is in fact voting in his next local election for Spamuel 2025.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So,
I can also see the emails as well,
yes.
So I'll just go have a quick check of it.
Yes.
Probably see the amended version of you just typing to yourself.
It's a lot of me typing to myself.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be. Yeah.
So,
thank you, Tom, for your email. We appreciate it. So I'm assuming then our episode is going to be a little bit Xenos-y, a little bit alien, little bit Burn the Alien type of episode.
I told Tom that I couldn't really be bothered responding to his email. Mainly because of the Manchester
which
United
you responded
comment.
with?
I did actually send him a reply saying that it's a really good idea, and instead of sort of just talking about it, I wanted to talk about Xenos in general. So this is going to be a little bit of a 40k-centric episode, where we are going to talk about some of my favourite minor Xenos species, and how I think it would be cool to bring them into Necromunda.
So wait, when you say minor Xenos, like just like
Xenos who can't vote yet, basically. Can't vote.
I thought you meant the ones who work underground.
But they can join in on a galaxy's worth of unending warfare. Now,
which is the right thing to be doing. Good on you, lads.
We're not going to be talking about things like the Kroot, the Vespid, Tyranids, Orcs, Necrons, the Eldar of various descriptions. Everyone knows about them. We are going to be talking about some of the
Can I just say, sorry to cut you off here, as a collective from all true Imperial and Imperium players, after you mentioned all those aliens, there is one thing that must be said. Pooey! Cursed. Yes.
We spit several times after. You thought the Imperial fists got booed.
Yeah.
Boo.
Boo. We actually reminded me that we missed one. I was like,
yeah, we did
miss one. We got too carried away with the episode, so thank you very much for correcting the ship on that one.
Now, I have a list of minor Xenos here. And why don't you go ahead and pick the first one and jump into reading?
Sure.
So the Nicassar are a Xenos species of powerful psykers who are allied with the Tau Empire. Now, the Nicassar are driven by an insatiable curiosity to explore and travel across the galaxy. It was this drive that led a flotilla of Nicassar dhows to make contact with the Tau, resulting in the Nicassar becoming the first non-Tau race to become an addition to the fledgling Tau Empire. This is actually wrong because the Tau originally took in a race by the name of the Poktroon. And then the Poktroon all mysteriously died after the Tau realised they really liked Poktroon planet. But that's neither here nor there. Their contribution to the greater good is the provision of starships for the Tau Protection Fleet, or the Corvatra, particularly vessels involved with reconnaissance and exploration duties, which are often crewed by the Nicassar themselves rather than the Tau air-cased. The propulsion and navigation of all Nicassar vessels stem from the potent psychic powers that define the Nicassar species. And for this reason, the Tau have been careful to prevent the Imperium, which is known for its somewhat extreme persecution of psykers, from discovering the existence of the Nicassar within their empire. The Nicassar are utilised by the Tau only for spacefaring. Their own limited mobility makes them highly ill-suited for ground combat. So, we don't know.
All I can think is not only purge the alien, destroy the heretic. There are inquisitors and there are redemptionists who are just sitting there going, yes, please, let me on just half of one of their ships. That's all I need, and I will sate my bloodlust, and the Emperor will bless me.
Well, wait until you learn about this. So, physically, Nicassar are actually ursine in appearance and have ivory hair quills and stubby, clawed limbs. They possess no eyes, instead sensing their surroundings with the psychic abilities generated by glands in their avian skulls, and the Nicassar are described as having long, furred snouts. So, ursine being bear. So they're basically, picture enormous bears that have, instead of fur, ivory hair quills and stubby clawed limbs. Already weird. Now make them blind. They have no eyes. They have avian skulls. All right, so bird heads. And they have long, furred snouts.
Yep. These things got through the Great Crusade is a mystery. Like, there should have been quite a hefty stomp of the Imperial boot upon them. They sound like creepy, creepy weirdos. And I can imagine they've only survived against... Well, we say against the Imperium. I don't think they'd actually position themselves to be in any way represented as a threat to the Imperium. They've survived against the threat of the Imperium simply by hiding themselves. You know,
it seems to be a mixture of their. So once they've joined up with the Tau, and the Tau see them for the sort of power that they really are, because the Tau have no psychic presence. They have no connection to the warp. All right.
Yeah.
So they will see the Nicassar as immediately having access to a power the Tau cannot artificially create.
Yeah.
So by then saying, well, we know that this Imperium, they don't like your kind, we're going to keep you with us because your technology, they can only be powered by your, like, mental abilities. gives us an advantage, or a very small advantage and a very precise advantage, but it gives us an advantage nonetheless. And
do you know what? That sort of speaks to me like a little bit of the orcish manner of using technology. You know, basically, if I believe it works, it works. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But it's that's a very simplified version of what the Nicassar are doing. They're more, I guess, actually using their capacity as psychics to run their ships and so forth. And unfortunately, we don't have that information about how exactly it works, or do we?
Well, so this is where the technology and biology of the Nicassar really seem to be working well together. So, for safety and because of their sort of culture, the Nicassar travel in extended families, sort of like, almost like traveling clans, and their nomadic mentality is driven not just because of, it's how they've always been, but they're a curious species. So they're constantly just saying, well, let's just go in that direction and see what we find. And it says that they're typically only actually content while traveling. So being bears, like sort of being bears, and this is where Games Workshop have sort of fed into that. The Nicassar will actually go into hibernation, and they can hibernate for massively long periods of time. So instead of having to worry about always using warp travel, for example, they can effectively point themselves in the direction they want to go, push on the accelerator, and allow that momentum to keep them going. And they just go into hibernation. So they hibernate, and they are traveling very, very slowly, but eventually they will get there.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about them, how they survived throughout the millennia, like this boat just floating and just happened to miss a warp rift.
Well,
The
entire crew doesn't hibernate at once, so there are members of the crew who stay sort of awake during this. Yeah. So it specifically states that this is from some of the Battlefleet Gothic information, that the Nicassar, when they travel, they sort of take it in shifts. So for this decade, you hibernate, and then I wake you up, and then I hibernate for a decade, and you sort of bounce backwards and forwards. And literally, like, their ships will travel for centuries until they get to their given destination. And the family groups, like these clans, will actually come together and travel together in sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like flotillas?
Yeah, like travelling flotillas of wider family groups. So,
right. So, as soon as you mentioned this race and their psychic ability and potential and so forth, explain to me how the warp has not tainted them, has not got to them. You know what I mean?
I think you missed when we said they were bears with bird heads and quills and tiny paws but no eyes and long furry noses.
Right, so that's where even the chaos guards are like, it's like, I'm going to mutate you into...
Zinch just sort of looks at it and goes...
Somebody's already been here.
Nah, man, you good.
You good. He's like, I don't... Are you a platypus?
Yeah.
Is that what species you are? Because you are weird. And even Korn's just like, come on, a little bit of bloodlust, just poking them a little bit. Just like, come on, just get angry in the slightest. Stop sleeping. Please stop sleeping.
Can't kill the enemy if you can't see it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Right. I just instantly think that, like, there must be a way. It's almost like... I say this and I'm probably going to get absolutely destroyed for it, but the Eldar control over their psychic ability is obviously phenomenal, right?
Yep.
Now, other than birthing a chaos god, they have been very much in control of their psychic capacity, ability, and usage, right? So it shows this strength and quality, and it sounds like that's something that the Nicassar would almost have, but they're not, because they're not using it as a weapon, because they're not using it as some, like, I guess, aggressive or planet shifting or some means that their psychic potential is being tapped into. All they're really doing it to use it is to drive a boat, really. Yeah. So I think they maybe slip under the radar of the Chaos Gods a little bit as well. Like, they have this great and overwhelming capacity to actually use their psychic ability, but at the same time they're just using it to just paddle a boat, for use of a better term. And they're already pretty well mutated, so there is there's a justification there to say that perhaps they are being, I guess, ignored, would you say?
Kind of. So I think when we talk about them being psychers and they're being an incredibly psychic race, I don't think we're talking about it in the same manner as the Elder, or even, to a lesser degree, as humanity.
Yep.
In this mindset, have you seen Moana 2?
I've seen bits of it. I keep falling asleep through it. So.
My kids have watched the first half of that movie no less than 46,000 times.
Right.
I still haven't seen past about the first half. But Moana becomes a wayfinder. She gets onto the canoe and goes out into the ocean in search of new destinations. And in my mind, that's what the Nicassar are. They're not using their psychic abilities for offensive capability. They're not using it to create fire from their hands. It would burn their little paws. They're using it as a way to where their crews of their dhows can come together and go, we turn 1 degree in this direction, we turn half a degree up, slightly, clockwise, and if we go in this direction, we know that they see that for the next century, this path is completely clear. That's the way I see their psychic abilities, where they are actually able to use it as almost a compass, a divining rod for the ideal direction to go, to sate that natural curiosity they have to actually to push themselves further. And that's what the Tau would be seeing from them, where the air-cased have to rely on their technology.
Cast.
They have to rely on their computers. They have to rely on their crews. The air-cased is incapable of doing with their technology what the Nicassar can do just by being. And that's where the Tau would see their value.
Well, see, I'm picturing them without the Tau. I mean, it's obviously the Tau are important for them, because I can imagine they gain some protection from their fleets and whatever the case might be. But I really like your idea that they foresee their future in the stars by going, we follow here, we turn here, we do this, we avoid this, and it's almost like seeing the future, but you're not be able to say, well, this world is going to burn and there's going to be a warp rift here or anything like that. You're just seeing the safe points of the galaxy in which to go. So, like, something like a Hive fleet moves in and they just go, well, we take a sharp turn at Albuquerque, and we're on track to avoid that particular Hive fleet. I really like that idea. That's really cool. It's like a very low-key sort of psychic potential. And we talked about this actually in one of our Dramatis Personae episodes, that's on Patreon, and about how there are psychers who exist that just don't even really know that they're psychers. Yeah. And I would think the Nicassar, when they travel through the warp, I could see them using that as well. So it's almost like this is the calm part of the warp if we need to do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and that's why the Tau use them as those scouts. They use them to explore into new areas, into new sectors, into new systems, because the Nicassar can get themselves there. And like we've said, like, this is obviously... I don't know exactly how the Nicassar use their psychic potential. But in my mind, the Nicassar can look at it and go, when we get there, there will be conflict, but we find it comforting that there's going to be comfort. We're curious to find out what this conflict is going to be. So yeah, I think that's the way the Tau would be using them. Like they hold a special place, sort of not within but alongside the air cased in sort of that degree as to how they can aid the greater good, because the Tau have taken the Dows and they've upgraded the weaponry. They've given them shields and armor and rail guns and whatever the Tau want to give them.
But it almost feels like they wouldn't need it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It would be once in a blue moon that one of these little hibernation ships just gets cooked. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It'll be more of a really bad, unfortunate circumstance, or maybe, a corrupted psychic vision has gone awry on them. Yeah.
But something I find really cool is the Nicassar are actually also known to transport other races on their ships. In fact, the Loxaddle, who are a sort of chaos-aligned Xenos race, are known to rely on the Nicassar for transport. So
yeah, right.
It's weird that as sort of we're all to use an internet term, we're all Imperium pilled. We all see the Imperium as the sort of central character for the story of Warhammer 40,000. But it's great to know that all these other sort of little stories are taking place, and these two alien species who, a lot of humans would look at them and go, well, you're just different shades of the same cloth that I need to set fire to. But these two cloths are interacting. They're taking part in these stories outside of sort of where a lot of us would focus. I think that's awesome.
I'm laughing because I love the idea that they're just like, we're having our own little powwow together and doing that. They're doing that because one of the key tenets of the Imperium is let the galaxy burn. Like, it's just like, yeah, but we also live here. I didn't stutter, my little bear-like avian friend. I said, let the galaxy burn. And so in this burning galaxy, what happens is these small alien races come together and just like, let's just forge out a little pathway away from the giant golden skeleton that wants to get the galaxy to burn, or the giant hungering leviathan that is eating its way through the galaxy. Let's avoid that.
No, you already mentioned the Imperium.
or the fungus. The fungus that learned how to fly ships and shoot guns. Let's avoid them too as well. Like,
once again, we've mentioned the Imperium. you just keep repeating yourself.
So this is like I really like your optimistic view of these two races coming together. Mind you, they're chaos aligned, so it just means double down on an Inquisitor finding them and just boom, 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 dead bears everywhere. But I like that positivity and that positive outlook that you can attach to the 40k universe and Necromunda and so forth. So I really like your view, but in my mind, all I can see is these handfuls of very small alien races, Xenos races, just banding together, because if they don't support each other, it is only a matter of time before the Templars are there, or some ridiculous Lord Solar rocks up and just goes, well, I'm starting a new crusade, baby. And guess what? You're on my doorstep. You're the first one I'm kicking in.
And people can talk about how chaos is this great big evil thing, and it's the threat of chaos is always there. There's the enemy within, the enemy without, and the enemy all around us. But the true enemy in my mind is a race like the Tau, who take in all of these other tiny little enemies and make them one enormous enemy trifle, you could say.
Yeah.
A trifle of enemies, where each layer is a different flavour of evil Xenos. And you love
Exactly
that idea
like a trifle.
until I said trifle.
It's exactly what a trifle is. Layer of evil Xenos. Yeah, it's, the coming together of these alien races is just like, yeah, just bunch up together, guys. It just makes it easier for us. But I guess, like, referencing the Nicassar back to a Necromunda, the reality of the situation of a Nicassar being on Necromunda is 1 in a trillion, billion, zillion.
Absolutely, but
yeah.
One of the reasons I picked this as the first race, it specifically says that they are ill-suited towards combat. They're blind, they're incredibly psychic, but as we've said, they're more curious than offensive. What this does give you, in my opinion, is the perfect basis to form a gang around. So, a Nicassar captain on his dhow, or her dhow, or its dhow, I'm not exactly 100% on sort of gender confirmation within the Nicassar species. I haven't spoken to one in quite a while. But, hear me out. A member of the ethereal caste comes along and says to this Nicassar, we have a mission for you. You are going to take a selection of members of the greater good from the Tau and the Demiurge and the Kroot and the Vespid and the Nicassar and the whatever species you want to throw in here, and Guaysavar and all of this, and you're going to take them to a planet we've identified as incredibly important to the Imperials, and you're going to have a member of the water caste with you, who are the diplomats and traders of the Tau Empire. And
can I pause your gang idea?
Yeah.
Now, I appreciate that maybe I don't always get my pronunciations wrong, but we've done this before. It is cast, not cased. And just confirm that you're saying it just to annoy me.
No, so much like the word, for example, haste, H-A-S-T-E. If you replace the H with a K, it becomes cased.
Yes,
I'm sorry, I enunciate. So this
Continue, gang idea.
Yeah, this Nicassar would gather these members of this crew and take them in, and under the guise of trading or escorting this water caste member, they would make their way to the Eye of Selene, or the Stranger's Spire, and from there they could make their way into the Underhive. Or what's to say they didn't ignore the protocols that had been given to them? Or what if they were purposefully given the wrong protocols and they were told, cruise into orbit around the planet in these coordinates? So they do, and those planetary defense lasers shoot down that Nicassar dhow. That Nicassar dhow crashes into a Helmor's graveyard, and all of a sudden you have a crew of very pissed off members of the greater good, all of a sudden desperately needing to find supplies and allies and a way to get back to the Tau Empire. Dude, that's
cool. I love it. I really like that. It's like it's almost like the plot of a movie or something like that, where it's just like, we got to get off planet. This is a planet full of humans, and they are more than happy to kill each other. They're enjoying killing each other. There's also raiders and nomads out there who technically aren't them, but definitely to us look the same.
Can you imagine the Demiurge member is there, because the Demiurge obviously being members of the Votan race, who are obviously cousins to the Ironhead squats. More on that in our squat episode. But can you imagine this Demiurge coming across an Ironhead squat and being like, cousin, hello, and the squat's looking at him like, you have a stupid accent.
Yeah.
Who are you? Clown?
You're going to be eating a lot of this ammunition, because I'm surprised you're talking to me. But yeah, I love this gang idea, because it is like, let me get off planet. Let me get the hell out of Dodge. And unfortunately, in tow we have a sleeping bear. So it's
But
it's almost like drag it along. I see, and I was sort of contemplating a gang idea for this, but I see the Demiurge almost like a slan. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't imagine. I just don't see it moving itself of its own propulsion. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen? You would have seen Wall-E, yeah?
of
Right?
course.
Yeah, and you see
Oh my
the people
God,
on the
yes.
ship. Yes, that's what I see the Demiurge as. This big, sort of rounded thing, stumpy little arms, stumpy little legs, covered in quills. Maybe, mobilizes itself with some sort of psychic ability, or maybe there's a platform it sits on and it moves itself along with that. I just I don't see them
I
as
love this.
pushing themselves with their own propulsion. Do you know what I mean? I don't see them walking really, and so I can imagine them almost slan-like getting driven along or on some sort of floating howdah or plaquin or something like that, where they're just moving at a very slow pace, and the rest of this crew is just like, this thing falls asleep all the time.
Well, it's
We
weird
need
that
to get
you've
it out
said
of
it
here.
that way, because it specifically tells us in one of the Farsight novels, when communicating with Tau, a Nicassar always floats in a special heel sphere, as they are described as having limited mobility and being unfit for ground combat. So they literally transport in what you've said, effectively the Wall-E style chairs carrying them around, because it seems that their physical bodies aren't suited for the high gravity of worlds.
Yeah,
You've smashed it straight on the head. That's the best.
So, are we now saying the Nicassar ships are exactly like the cruise liner in Wall-E?
I'm
I think
90% sure that's now canon.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what will happen? As is inevitable, we will see the Nicassar released in like 12, 18 months' time. And it'll just be like, oh yeah, it just happened to be that we, released them, a little bit after the Underhive Lorekeepers spoke about them. But yeah, so I can see this as almost like a useless character in the gang, but not quite. Oh, it's like, as I said, like that hovering thing, like the character we again discussed in one of our Dramatis Personae. It's Ortrum 88.
Yes,
that
the
bounty
murder
hunter.
potato.
The murder potato, basically this floating thing, and then if you look at Ortrum's rules, like you could most certainly include this character in that. So I think he has like premonition or something.
Yes.
Which works really good for him. You know what I mean? So
Is it a? Oh, you know the psychic stuff better than me. It's a. Is it like look out, sir?
yeah, sort of. I think it's like that. I think it's. Oh no! Sorry, it gives a save. It's basically an invulnerable save sort of thing. So the character gets an invulnerable save, perfect for the healing sphere. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then there's
that ability to see the path, like we talked about earlier.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
nice.
Yeah. So I'm not fully over the rest of his abilities, but if an arbitrator or something like that were allowing somebody to use this in the game, because it represents the Nicassar so beautifully, but eliminate some of the more the offensive psychic capacity of it.
Well, dude,
do you know what I mean?
These damned Imperials have just shot down your Dow, which your whole family was on, and you were on a special mission from the Ethereal. You have a member of the Water Caste with you. Like, you're going to be upset. You're basically going to then maybe manifest some of those offensive psychic abilities that Murder Potato has. So, yeah.
Right, you're saying so it taps into itself, into its darker self, into its angrier self. Right.
I don't know what you know about bird bears with like hairy albino quills, but they can get really angry.
Do you
And
know
for non-Australians, these are actual animals we have here.
Yeah, they are. And a very distant cousin of the The drop bear. Yeah,
They're actually
totally
called
agree.
South Australians. Shout out to our South Australian listeners.
I don't know if their ears work that well, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Try and
they,
shout
they
out to
won't they won't hear this for another 15 years anyway. They're that far behind the rest of
Oh,
us.
actually, I'll give them a proper shout out. They'll understand. Oh, well. There you go. I get that. Right. I was going to screech into the microphone. I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that to the audience. So, tabernacle, yeah. So this character here would be perfect as a representation of that. Yeah. And then I think you just go Venators after that, and you just start going, yes, my Ogren represents my Demiurge, my
Squat would be a Demiurge.
Squat, of course, yeah. I'm an idiot.
You could totally go like the Beastmen as maybe like a Kroot, or there are a bunch of Xenos races we might talk about after this.
But have somebody with some sort of jump equipment, or even just a drop rig to represent your Vespid or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And then the usage of weapons, mate, just it's scavenger time. They have weapons that look like what they would normally be equipped with, but in general they're using stuff that is cobbled together, like maybe patched together out of the crashed the crashed starship that they had.
Yeah, well, so, you're great. Like, especially you've hit the nail on the head with Venators there, because you have access to some of that illegal material. Go some hotshot las guns, or maybe like plasma guns to represent the Tau
pulse
technology,
rifles,
the pulse rifles.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the bodyguards for this water case member are more militaristic. They've maybe they're Kroot who have fought alongside Imperials, or who have fought against the Orcs and have scavenged weaponry, or have just been to any of the innumerable sort of Xenos marketplaces throughout the Tau Empire and have purchased these goods. There's an amazing scene in the Last Chances novels where the Last Chances crew is going through this marketplace, and they're able to see, they're visiting this merchant who's selling Imperial gear, and it's like it's the best loot from a bunch of different battlefields.
Yeah, right.
And you have Imperial las guns on the same table as alien crystallized sort of crystal like.
Yeah, and I can actually picture the image you're talking about. It's like this weird crystal gun that one of the alien races uses.
But it would be amazing to sort of see that, and maybe that Demiurge has sort of an Ironhead pattern bolt gun, but then is wearing very clearly armor plating taken from a defeated orc. Like, there's just so many different options there for you. So yeah, I think you're 100% right there. Venators is the way to go.
Yeah, Venators and Otram 88 would just be, it's such a perfect representation of the Nicassar, you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess if I was to push for a gang idea for them, it would almost be like a controlling entity, something that is actually being captured and sits on the Eye of Selene and whispers to a gang to come up and free me from here, put me on a ship, and I'll take you away from Necromunda. You know what I mean? Almost the voice that the Sawtooth Harlots heard to get them off planet. You know what I mean? So
shout out to our girls.
Yeah. So you play it as like they see this image of this bear, and it becomes their icon and their emblem and whatever the case might be. But their objective is to fight their way up to the Eye of Selene and go into holding room, 772 beta or whatever, and take this thing out of storage, because it's in hibernation, but it's using its latent psychic ability to just bleed into the minds of a gang on the planet, but probably more on the Eye of Selene itself. So it slowly amasses a crew, and but maybe even perhaps like you could have an Eldar representative on the Eye of Selene, and that increased psychic capacity of that creature, the Nicassar is able to just tap into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Share the whispers.
The Nicassar.
And then, what did I call them?
Nicassian.
Nicassar, the Piscean. Yeah, exactly. They're doing the Piscean whisper thing. The Nicassar would be able to whisper and almost fool the elder into thinking that a spirit stone is trapped on the Eye of Silene, and make them hunt for this, this spirit stone. But in reality, it's just trying to get itself off this space station.
Yeah,
that would be a cool campaign to run. You know what I mean? Just like fighting your way from deck to deck on this huge space station, just trying to find this holding facility, activating the right doors and, pissing off certain breaches and whatever, and having the Imperial Navy hunt you down and so forth. I think that's a cool idea. But so the gang would be based on the Eye of Selene. And but you could take it in any which direction you want, because any alien that would come to the Eye of Selene within reason could be justifiably used. You know what I mean? As it begins to bleed its whispers into the brains.
And we can protect you against these Imperials.
Yeah, well, but the reality is it'll be Eldar, Squat, or whatever they call themselves, Ironheads, whatever, Votan. There's no really other alien races that would come to Necromunda via the Eye of Selene.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So those two races, the Nicassar could easily bleed itself into their brain and make them feel like, maybe they think, and there's an ancestor core there, and its presence is drawing me to it. So that's how the young Votanian is drawn into it. That's a good made-up word.
I like that.
Right. So, I like the Nicassar in the sense that they can give you such a different variation on how to look at the game. But, no, it's a good first read. Do you want to go into our next one?
Yeah. All right. We probably should. That was an extremely long, short read.
It was. I think our plan was to do a short spiel on them for 15 to 20 minutes, and we Lorekeepered it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
thankfully, my phone hasn't gone off yet, so we're good. Okay. Yes, next read, and I'm actually going to pick one for you here. I think you should read about, and I'm going to try and pronounce this right, Eldar? Eldar. Give us a quick breakdown of the complete history of the Eldar. I'm sure people won't get angry if you get anything wrong. Go.
Okay. They were lucky they got through the Great Crusade, and Slaanesh is more unfortunate that he didn't. Probably got distracted. He, she, it got distracted whilst doing the good work to the Eldar.
Yeah, perfect. Honestly, perfect. Do you remember, was it Fulgrim, where Fulgrim beat the absolute dog snot out of an Avatar of Cain?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh.
I remember Eldar players cracking the poos about it, going, Fulgrim can't do that. No, Fulgrim can.
Fulgrim can. Fulgrim did.
Here, birdie boy. I'm going to throw you in a bucket of ice. You are done.
Yeah, okay. No, why don't you pick one from the massive list of minor species I've got there, and let's see what you got.
I've always liked the ones that I've chosen here, the Tarellians, because they had a small little image in, I think it was the 3rd or 2nd edition book, and it was just I think finally starting to see some other Xenos races come about. And you're just like, oh, hey, hang on, what are these? But they're also known as Tarellians.
Tarellians?
Have you heard of them? Yes, have you heard of them before?
No.
Dog soldiers.
Tarellians?
Tarellians.
Aren't they Tarellians?
They're also known as Tarellians.
Oh.
Anyway, getting into it. The Tarellians are a Xenos species of which almost nothing is known but who serve as mercenaries for the Tau military. Tarellian warriors are often called dog soldiers. The Tarellians were originally part of the stellar empire known as the Tarellian civilization, which existed to the galactic north of the Ghoul Stars and coreward of the Kiltor sector. According to certain imperial legends, mankind virus-bombed several of their worlds during the Great Crusade at some point in the last 2 centuries of the 30th millennium. Good job, Big E. Good job.
He read that with such a grin on his face.
I was like, get him. Yeah. The Tarellians seem to bear a grudge against humanity for the ancient assault to this day, as they aggressively reject the company of all humans. At some point during the 41st millennium, the Tarellian dog soldiers occupied the Mostar system, but were pushed out by the Brotherhood of 1,000 Space Marine chapter. Krill farmers on the ice world of Logris were protected by Astra Militarum forces raised on that world from raids by Tarellians. In recent times, Tarellians have served as mercenaries for the Tau Empire. Unfortunately for the Tarellians, in circa 997, the Tarellian civilization was caught up in Hive Fleet Moloch's inexorable advance from the galactic north after the Tyranids devoured the Kiltor sector. The Hive Fleet swept through the Ghoul Stars, and some vanguard elements of the swarm plunged outwards towards Imperial space. It is thus likely that the only surviving Tarellians are those dog soldiers who are operating as mercenaries away from their home territories. So they have...
They got squatted.
They got squatted. Yes, they most certainly did. Yes, they are wiped out, basically. So it was a Hive Fleet Moloch. I don't even know Hive Fleet Moloch.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. Eats a lot of dog soldier.
Yes,
which
I actually want to see what they look like, to be honest with you, because... Excuse my clicking, folks. Oh, is that Hive Fleet Moloch? Righto. Red and nasty looking things. Oh, I kind of feel a bit... actually feel like bad for the Tarellians right now. I'm like, no, you don't go by Tyranid. That's the worst way to go.
They also, Hive Fleet Moloch make use of assimilated humans known as mind slaves. And weirdly enough, and this is some old stuff, the army badge of Hive Fleet Moloch is actually a man kicking a chihuahua. That's weirdly
really
particular.
Double down on it.
We really dislike dogs. Let's find the Tarellians.
We're cat people, too.
We are cat people.
We hate the woofers. Do you know they didn't need to come via the Galactic North? They just chose that pathway because they knew the Tarellians were there. Like, we're going to kick these puppies square in the snouts. Oh, I feel bad for them now. I really do. Actually, there's a little bit more about the Tarellians actually regarding their anatomy and physiology. The Tarellians are bipedal species that possess narrow-waisted and broad-shouldered bodies. They stand somewhat shorter than most humans with long canine faces and teeth, which give them their moniker of dog soldiers. They communicate in a language of growls, snarls, and barks. Right, okay, yes. Make it very, 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 very obvious.
Yeah, they're very much so dog soldiers, aren't they?
Yeah.
I love the Tarellians. I'm glad you picked them because they're one of those minor species that has appeared... They've never appeared on the table. And like you said, I'm pretty sure it was the second or third ed rulebook where they appear in that picture of minor Xenos. There's like the Denorian Fiend, the Necron, the Kroot, the Rudd. Then there's like on the side the Tarellian Dog Soldier.
It's almost like a shot of all like ruffians of the galaxy.
Yeah.
Where you look at it, it's just like this is like a gang of miscreants and naughty no-goods who the Imperial Fists, well, The Fist of the Imperium has yet to bust. Boo.
Yeah,
Not for the
it's
Fist of the
basically a
Imperium.
40k version of a K-pop album cover. I'm expecting them to do like a dance with really synchronized moves, like
And
you know yeah,
the K in K-pop stands for Kill
yeah.
on Sight.
You can just imagine the Arbos show up. It's like, might sound crazy, but it ain't no bye, baby. Die, 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 die. Yeah.
You
I like
really
NSYNC.
do. He was
I
breaking
ain't
into
even-
dance there, folks. Like,
Yeah.
full on breaking into dance.
Die,
all
die,
right,
die,
back
pop,
to our
pop.
pop, pop.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tarellians.
K, pop, pop.
They show up a lot in books. They show up a lot in the Black Library. Like, there's a couple of cool. I think you want to talk about one of them. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. I really like Tarellians.
Oh, look, I do, but like, I honestly, I don't. I know there's a few novels that they've turned up in. I think it was Kill Team by Gav Thorpe.
Yeah, the Last Chances.
Last Chances, that's what it was. But I personally, I think I've read it, actually. I read it a very, very long time ago.
Yeah.
But speaking of reading books, I was attacked personally for not having read Eisenhorn, which I thought was a bit unnecessary.
Shout
Not
out
only
to my
from you,
boy Tom, the One Punch Orlock, for internet bullying Nathan into reading.
Yeah, I really didn't like that at all. But I'm going to start reading them. That is a promise. One Punch Orlock. I'm making a promise to an Orlock. You.
Yuck.
But no. So with the Tarellians, there's such a step away from the Nicassar. Do you know what I mean? Like the Nicassar, where the Nicassar are like combat ineffective in terms of being on the ground. The Tarellians sound like something you do not want to fight, because not only is it the humanoid form that they fight in, but also they got big chompy teeth, mate. They will mess you up every single day of the week. So I think this is a really good step away in terms of the minor Xenos races, because this is more akin to, I would say, almost like fighting like a regular human soldier. I can't imagine that they would be necessarily stronger, tougher, whatever. Perhaps maybe a little bit quicker if they've got that, the dog-leggy type dog leg. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know what it's actually called. It's, the dog leg goes backwards sort of thing.
Dog legs go backwards?
Well, they don't go backwards, just wait.
You're talking about how dogs can run? Do you think humans can't run?
No, humans can run, but do you know how a dog's leg faces like the other way, basically?
No.
What are you talking about? No. A dog doesn't have like a knee like us.
What are you talking about?
A dog doesn't necessarily their leg bends the opposite way to us.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
This is about Necromunda. This isn't about dog legs. Are you about to start a high fleet Moloch army and just like every time someone goes to shoot one of your units, be like, if you win this combat, I'm going to eat your pets?
No. Okay, maybe I've not viewed the world in the right way in the last 40 years of my life, but a dog's leg doesn't. Anyway, that's what I see their legs like. So I can imagine they would be quicker than a human, maybe over a short sprint or like if there's an obstacle course with a treat at the end, they'd just be like zip, 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 zip. You're looking at it anyway.
Okay, no, I'm not looking up dog legs. Yeah, so they are definitely very different to the Nicassar. The Nicassar being, not very good on the ground and in combat and having stumpy bare legs, and obviously the Tarellians being dog soldiers. They're an assault unit. They are they're infantry. They're ground pounders. And yeah, you mentioned Kill Team, the Last Chances novel earlier. When they're in that book when the last chances are actually in this bar, and they see a bunch of humans who are like human mercenaries, and Cage, one of the last chances, gets a little bit pissed off because he's like, oh, they should be fighting for the Emperor instead of fighting for themselves with these damned aliens. And these Tarellians basically start a fight with the last chances because they hate humans. And so the other humans start fighting the Tarellians, and then all the other Xenos start fighting the human mercenaries and the last chances. And then the whole fight is stopped when a bunch of Kroot come in and basically just start kicking the absolute dog snot out of everyone. And Cage is like, oh, thanks, buddy. Why did they fight us? It's like, because you're human. Everyone hates you. You're the worst people in the entire galaxy. It's like, oh, that's fair enough. Like, thanks for helping us anyway.
No, I do not approve that message at all.
Oh, it's not my message. It's Gav Thorpe's message. Are you saying Gav Thorpe is wrong?
Thank you. Started.
No. So you're saying Gav Thorpe is wrong?
Look, we all have opinions about things. Let's move on to talking more about dog soldiers. Right.
So I would love to see these as... I hate to say it, and you're probably going to dislike this. I would most likely run these as like Orlocks. Do them as... what's the word I'm looking for? Like... how would I say it? Almost like auto guns, knives, because they're mercenaries. You could paint them up real cool as not paint them up. You could build them up as more of a real mid-range, close-range combat.
Yep.
It'd be great. It'd be great to see them. And once again, it's going to be Venators. I'd probably run them as beastmen, dog soldiers. It just makes sense to me.
It does make sense. Yes, I agree with that. I was actually thinking ash wastes. The
nomads.
And mainly just because I think the weirder kind of weaponry. Do you know what I mean? And also that sort of real scrapper type appeal to them. I could definitely see them being something definitely a lot off kilter. Do you know what I mean? But it is funny. I have Googled them in our discussion. The Tarellians, I think a lot of people view them as lizard almost.
Yeah, they're like a lizard dog.
A lizard dog, yeah. Which I don't know. I more see them as a dog.
I see them as dogs.
Yeah, for sure. Like proper little furry thing, maybe. Oh, do you know what'd be cool? They actually have dog tags. Right?
It's literally like, if you've found me, please don't call the pound. I just like wandering.
Yeah, and it's like, please do not return me back to Hive Fleet Moloch, please.
Yeah, please.
My entire litter is gone. It is not good. But like, if they had dog tags, it would be any tag they wear would be a dog tag.
Would they spray them on walls as well, dog tags?
Yes, they would. But they would do it in the way that dogs spray walls. Because they're disgusting. Right. Anyway, I've actually been trying to refrain from making lots of dog jokes. But I guess, the ultimate weapon against them would be a particular whistle that you and I couldn't hear.
Yep, and perfect.
That's how the Inquisitor adds them to a warband or something. Just like rattles the whistle at them, and they're just like, okay, you're right, boss. Yeah, we'll listen to what you're saying. Yeah, we're on board with you. But I guess they're not as esoteric, because they're not as strange as the Nicassar. They sort of fit in quite nicely to any facets of Necromunda and 40k.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's sort of like you can use them in any way because they are just fighters. And again, I still view them as more like the dog soldier rather than the the lizard soldier with a dog-like face. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, like, I think that gives them an appeal of not having like an oversized version of themselves. They're mainly all sort of maybe infantry based or something along those lines, or they're, you know, they might have like larger members of their species, maybe a few smaller members of their species, but generally considered they're all sort of roughly the same size.
Well, you're actually right. I'm looking at all these different images of people's sort of interpretations on the Tarellians, and there's a lot of lizards.
Yeah, definitely. I can't say I'm a fan of it. I think the dog side of it is really what I find appealing about them. I don't know what. Look, I'm not a fan of lizardmen or saurians in Age of Sigmar / Warhammer Old World. So I'm not like a big fan of seeing them transplanted to where the dog soldiers should be. You know what I mean?
No. You know what? I think it's better that they are dogs. And you're right. I think we should do them as, you know what, where they'd be great because they're mercenaries and they fight for the Tau. They'd be great on that Nicassar ship.
Yeah. As?
I hate to say it, I actually love your idea of doing them as Ashways nomads.
No, as guard dogs on the ships.
As guards, get out. But that would be great. Use the spare dog heads you get from the Orlok Arms Master and Wrecker kit, because I think you get 2 heads per dog. So you could use them, and you'd put them on with either Tau armor or even Votan armor, and then do. You could do them as literally put them onto beastmen bodies.
Do you know what? Yeah, exactly. See, and that double jointed, that's the word I was looking. The double jointed leg is what I was trying to say before. Stupid brain working against me.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Clawed Fiend from, I think it's a Dark Elder.
The Denorian Clawed Fiend?
Yeah, the Clawed Fiend.
Yep.
That, I think, would make a perfect Tarellian. Like this wide upper torso, probably just a little bit too big, or, you know, a plastic gore would be perfect as well. Like saying, so like really quite broad-shouldered. That double-jointed leg, I think, is the most important thing that it must have on it, though. And I think the Claw Fiend works really well, though, because it's very hairy as well. You know, it's probably a little bit touched like on the ape side, but again, as you're saying, the gauze would look really good as well. There's also the who are the Escher Wild Runners, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the heads from the not the Gyrinx.
The Phalanx.
Phalanx, yep.
Yes, those heads would look really cool as well. Sort of, I think because they're a little bit over the top. I don't know necessarily if they would work quite well on a humanoid body, but a little bit of sculpting and working and so forth. But they've got the frills and so forth, so I reckon they would look really funky because they're like overtly wild. Like they don't look like a subtle sort of, you know, calculated soldier. They would look like a bit of a Fruit Loop that has been, abandoned by the Tau and just gone. Yeah. See you. You're going to Necromunda because we don't want you.
But that's the thing. You can imagine them hitching a ride with that Nicassar ship because they are straight up mercenaries. In fact, in the Huron Blackheart book, there is a big crew of them that are basically, they have this huge thing where when they pledge allegiance to someone, they name every single person sort of like in their warband, one after the other, and like their deeds and what they do and that sort of stuff. And Huron Blackheart is sitting there listening to this Tarellian, like, tell him these are my friends and my cousins and blah 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 blah. And Huron Blackheart's just like, listen, man, I've got stuff to do. I can't be sitting here. And this Tarellian's like, no, listen, buddy, we've got to do this, then we'll serve you. It's cool. And eventually Huron's just like, listen, oi, butthole, stop. Speed it up. Like, cut the foreplay. Let's get down to business, all right? To defeat the Huns. And the Tarellians basically like, well, no, you've disrespected us now. And they're in the middle of this hall, surrounded by red corsairs. Like, hundreds of them. And they decide, we're going to attack Huron Blackheart in the middle of his, like, sanctum. It doesn't go well. It doesn't go well for them.
I can imagine not.
Pani, a listener and my official librarian, actually recommended that book to me. I think you'd really like it, actually. There's a very cool perspective on being on Chaos ships in it. But that's not what we're talking about here. So the Tarellians are pure mercenary. They will fight anyone for money, and they will double fight them if they are humans.
Disrespected.
So,
and disrespected. And
disrespected.
But it's interesting because, like, it must be their sense of loyalty and their sense of honour and their sense of duty is, like, quite elevated then. Do you know what I mean? So they're like, no, you're disrespecting the process of what we do, and henceforth we are going to just take you on. We're going to fight you in the middle of your ship because you have brought this upon yourself, which is a really cool characteristic of their race then, and it's something that you could see would be easily transposed into a gang, where perhaps a dog soldier was rescued, or it's a rescue dog, or saved, or was shown some sort of, I don't know, loyalty, or even perhaps compassion, but I don't see them as that. Maybe it was brought into an arena to fight and it was saved, and you could see it recanting its story and its name and all the rest of it that goes along with it, and then it's locked in forever with that person and just saying, you are my person. So I could see maybe not an entire gang of these things, but more so that, like, one or two, or even if you were to find a dramatis personae that could fit the role, then you could add this character to your gang. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So even what's the Beastman guy's name? It is
the Beastman.
The Beastman.
Gore Halflon.
Gore Halflon. I had in my head half foot, and I was like, that is really not right. Gore Halfhorn would probably make a good representation of an allied dog soldier to within your gang. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, perfect. Perfect.
I don't necessarily see them as a gang on Necromunda, because I probably just don't have the numbers of the capacity, because of, as you say, they've been, almost like wiped out across the galaxy, and it's more warbands that exist, and they're not making planetfall to Necromunda to do that kind of stuff. Do you know what I mean? They're more they're probably attempting to survive more so than anything else. So, if, again, as I said, if it was to build a gang, though, it'd be built around the Ash Waste Nomads, just because of the weird weaponry they have, and without knowing a great deal about the Ash Waste Nomads gang themselves, I just imagine them being able to dart in and out of combat, and that's the way I see these dog soldiers. Like, the fighting is done almost on their terms wherever possible.
Yes.
So zipping in, fighting, maybe moving on to the next target. But there's a level of brutality in the close combat that I think you'd be able to reflect really nicely with the Nomad equipment.
Yeah, because you could do it, and plus with obviously we haven't got the book here yet, but the new those new hunters with the sort of chitin armor, the knives, you could play them as a real sort of close combat unit of them. You're just going to need a lot of dog heads, lizard heads.
But what's to say? Like, what's to say that they all have to look the same? You know, like we're talking again, bring it back to real world dogs. They're different breeds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they don't
what
all
are
have
those
to-
the ones that go into the snow with like the brandy cask on their neck? Saint Bernards.
Saint Bernards. That's it. Yes.
I really want to see a Saint Bernard in combat armor, like kicking in a door and just hosing down a bunch of Cawdor with auto gunfire. And he still has the brandy cask around his neck.
I was gonna say, and then goes and like saves a few of them with the brandy cask.
Yeah,
It's just like,
no, or spits it onto them and then lights them on fire.
that is gold. I love it. That'd be absolutely perfect. And it's funny because I'm just thinking of all like other types of dog breeds, and what is the one? I can't think of its name. It looks like a mop, basically. You know. Yeah, I can't think of its name. It looks like a mop. That's what I know. But
It's the I know this Commodore.
No. It's a bit more specialised than that. It's not just a common door. It's like it's
You're
probably a
the
special door.
worst. No, it is.
Anyway, yes, I would. For comic value, I would love to see one that looks like that, like tongue hanging out, a bit shaggy. It's just doesn't look like an effective fighter until the guns start blazing, and then
it once again kicks a door in heavy stubber and is just like do, and the tongue is just flapping with every bullet. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's just from a distance, it just looks like a big hairy thing. You're like, that looks more cute than anything. And then just like twin stubbers come out from underneath the mop, just like boom, 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 boom. But like, it gets me thinking about like what other species you could use. And there was one that I was thinking of. I wanted to say it earlier, but I didn't want to go down this pathway. But we're here now. So it is the Tibetan Mastiff. Have you ever seen
Oh
that
my
thing?
god, yes, they are. Aren't they used to hunt like rhinos and like trucks,
And
like
battle tanks.
and battle tanks? Yeah, those things are terrifying.
They're so huge. Like, I think if you wanted to run one in a gang, like if you wanted to make something look like a Tibetan Mastiff, you would probably that's your Ogren for your gang.
Yeah.
Just this big beastie thing, like too much fur around the eyes, but like you don't mention it because he'll just start wailing on you. You know what I mean? Like just dog paw in your left, right, and centre, and it's all over Red Rover. Oh, another dog reference.
No.
It's
But can you imagine like a Tarellian scout coming back to the army and he's all excited. It's like, what's wrong, lassie? Orlocks over the ridge. What? They're at the water supply.
and can speak Imperial Gothic, but chooses to bark.
Chooses to bark. Yep.
Just purely for the cinematic value of it. Like,
Yep.
It's like, I know. Don't worry about a translator. He'll tell me later once, like, the audience is gone. Like, he'll actually communicate properly. He's just a bit of an ass. Right. So, yeah, I think the Tarellians are a great addition. You know what? If I was to say it, they're like Beastmen. They're just a great little bit of flavour and spice into Necromunda. And when they are bunched together and you get like a handful fighting together, it is a real oddity. Something really, really strange.
Yep.
And everybody's like, whoa, what have we got here? And I can only imagine it would be Tau sanctioned. Because they're the only ones who would get away with that filth. So they would be the only ones who go, yes, go down to planet. Go cause some trouble for our Tau Empire filth.
You're really doubling down on hating them.
Oh, look, it's a general Xenos thing, right? If I'm honest. Like, they're just very, very lucky the Imperium had a little snafu internally.
A little sniff.
Or what would you call it? A heresy.
All right.
It's going to be far, mate.
Let's move away from the dog soldiers. Wait, what's your gang idea for dog soldiers?
Gang idea. Oh, look,
Have you ever seen Paw Patrol?
That would be great.
Take Paw Patrol. There's like Chase, Marshall. I think one of them's name is like Zuma. There's like a Constructobot.
I've never seen Paw Patrol yet.
Goblin Juve is obsessed. Goblin Juve is obsessed. He has...
Yeah, my boy is not quite there yet. He's still very much fixated on Bluey.
Yeah. Okay, Bluey.
Note.
Bluey. Perfect. Perfect Tarellian gang.
That is a perfect. You have Bandit, Chili. All the names are there for you.
Yep.
Bingo and Bluey are the Jews.
Yep.
And then you have Rusty, because I like Rusty. He gets involved there as well. So,
and the Terriers?
The Terrier. Oh my word. The
Idea.
Terriers.
Brand new podcast. Let's just do a Bluey podcast. All right, ready? Cut here. 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to another episode of Bluey with the Boys. I'm obviously Samuel. That's Nathan. And here today we are going to talk about how weird it is that only dogs manage to evolve into a humanoid status and they have other pets. So what happened to the humans, Nathan?
Well, we're going to do the theme song.
Purge.
Mom.
Oh, wait, no.
I know, we're on
different
ideas. Yes.
Okay, Paw Patrol and Bluey are perfect Tarellian gang ideas.
There we go. That's my gang idea.
Yep.
The Bluey gang. I would actually love to see that. But you don't necessarily need to make them look like the character. You just paint them in the right characters. So Bluey's like a blue healer. You do Chili as like a red healer or whatever it is. Yeah.
The Terriers or whatever types of dogs they are.
Yeah. Terror. But like
the Terrorers.
Yeah, I was going to say 40k them up. The Terrorizers. Perfect. I love it.
Perfect.
The best game idea I've ever had.
Yep.
We've ever had.
Yeah, that's ours. All right. The last minor Xenos race.
Yeah, it's your read. Who are you going to pick? You're going to have to dig long and deep to find one. Really go mining for one.
Because they're minor Xenos?
Yeah. Sorry, it feels like this is... didn't feel like this thing was on. I made a funny joke.
I'm actually going back a few editions with this one here.
Yep.
And I am going to bring up the Zoats. Now, also known as Zoats, which would be wrong. It is Zoats. The Zoats are another species that unfortunately made friends with the Tyranids. But the Zoats are an ancient reptilian and centauroid or alien species that was enslaved or specifically engineered as bioconstructs by the Tyranids and incorporated into the multitude of subservient bioforms that serve the hive mind. They were actually once used as Tyranid diplomats, since they were more capable of the intelligent thought, logic, linguistics, and diplomacy that the other, more animalistic Tyranid species did not engage in. Now, this is obviously going back quite a few editions with that one there. I believe it was like 3rd or 4th edition when sort of this might have even been Rogue Trader.
I think it's sort of Rogue Trader.
Yeah.
Look, having played Second Ed, like when I joined the game in Second Ed, right? And I always remember seeing these centaur-looking creatures in the Tyranid armies and never knowing what they were. You know what I mean? Like, you couldn't go buy them off the shelf or whatever the case might be. And it was only until... It was at Blackstone Fortress where they got the update to the miniature.
Yeah.
That I was like, oh, they've finally taken them to the next level. But I do remember them in the fantasy settings because they were in They were in Warhammer Fantasy.
I think they
And
were on Lustria, weren't they?
yeah, but do you know what they were also in? There was a great game, and it was called Battle Magic or something like that. I'll have to get the name of it. I'll find it before the end of the episode. And it was an awesome game. It was like an introduction to playing Warhammer, basically. And you had a huge map that you laid out on the ground, and all your units were on these little holders and everything. It was a brilliant game. I'll get it.
Sick.
I'll get the name for you. It was around about the era of like Space Crusade and all that when all that came out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So
Well,
yeah, these are an ancient, a very.
I'm pretty sure you're right. I
ancient
think it was
art.
Rogue Trader.
Yeah, I remember seeing them in second ed when I was looking at them. I'm like, what the heck is that? And there was
Yeah,
no
they were
real
monstrous
information about
minis
them.
too. They were sick.
They really were. Like, yeah, they were just. They honestly, the mini itself looks like a miniature designer hasn't been given much of a brief and has been told create something alien looking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We
And
want
they've
it to
just
be a
taken from
centaur, lizard, dinosaur, half robot. Go. And it's just like, I got you, King.
I know what I'm about. Yeah, I've made something specifically for you, but I think there's like I know definitely first edition they were there. I don't think they get much of a mention after first edition. You know,
Yeah, it
for
was
a
like
while.
Rogue Trader and that, and then they did disappear for a very long time.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
so it was initially believed that the Zoats were an engineered slave race of the Tyranid, known as bioconstructs. And like other bioconstructs such as the Gene Stealers and the Grabber Slashers, the Zoats were created to fulfill a particular purpose. In the case of the Zoats, it is to communicate with alien creatures so that they may act as ambassadors and information gatherers, and to generally subvert other species to bring them under Tyranid control. Zoats are also speculated to have been created purely for combat, as their stocky builds easily enable them to perform under atmospheric conditions, unlike the spacefaring Tyranids. Zoats are probably an ancient strain of bioconstruct, as their six-limbed structure is shared with Tyranids and Gene Stealers, and their form is likely derived from the native creatures of the lost Tyranid homeworld in whatever remote galaxy they originated from. Now, they do get very interesting here because although they are a slave race, the Zoats actually occupy important positions within the hive fleets, and with certain individuals gaining great power. However, some Zoats are known to rebel against the Tyranids, though it is rare. And the rarity of these rebellions is due to the Tyranids secreting a special slave hormone, which suppresses the Zoat's natural sense of independence. Quick throwback to Hive Fleet Moloch having those slave humans.
yeah, yeah. And you know, you don't really hear about it a lot with Tyranids having slaves. So
They definitely changed that after like the Rogue Trader early few editions.
Yeah, it's more just like chomp chomp gone, chomp chomp gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Anyway, yes, continue on.
So, interestingly enough, when they do break away from the Tyranids, approximately half of the renegade and independent Zoats will develop psychic powers. And they actually become incredibly diverse, some joining small isolated settlements, others becoming mercenaries. Eldar pirates are known to favour Zoat mercenaries, though due to Eldar antipathy to orcs and due to finding humans irksome, they are often limited in the options of who they can hire. Now, they basically also say that the mercenary Zoats, whether abandoned or escaped from their Tyranid masters, have little choice but to fight for whoever pays the best and complains the least. They're also incredibly technologically advanced. Their access to technology and ability to create other technologies surpassing almost all other sentient races. Now, we did mention them earlier. They are centauroid. They are also lizards. They are basically Chaos Dragon Ogres, but with laser guns and power fists.
Yes. I will say something about the two of the races we've spoken about being technologically advanced and all the rest of it, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many races out there more technologically advanced than the Imperium, what have you, blah, blah, blah. Even like, I don't know, top of my head, Jakero, right?
Oh, we should have talked about Jakero there also.
We should have. But who are the dominant species or the dominant force in the galaxy?
The
It is
Necrons.
the Imperium. No, shush, that's wrong. Right. It is the Imperium, right?
I mean, technically, maybe the Orcs. Like they'd cover a lot of.
Well, do you know what? The
a lot of
orcs
space.
fit into this category as well, which is you don't need nothing more than the right focus, the individual, and just any old gun. And send them forward. You can have all your whiz-bang technologies. Oh, look at me. I've got a Walkman and I've got a freaking pair of Reebok pumps and whatever the else might be. And this person's just rocking up with a las gun and the right motivation, the right drive to get the job done, sir.
Yeah, I mean, the Eldar do pretty good.
Oh, mate, dying race. They're next on the list. They're just again, as I said, they're that little snafu bought them a bit of time. That's all.
Well,
anyway,
the
moving
Zoats,
away from the praise of the Imperium.
The Zoat disappeared for quite a long time. Like we said, they had those metal miniatures back in sort of Rogue Trader, and then they appeared in the 6th edition artwork. There's a picture of Xenos. There's a Hrud. There's a Zoat in the top right-hand corner. There's a very lizard-looking Tarellian. There's basically a vampire bat. There's like a giant frog. There's a bunch of like freaky deaky looking Xenos. There is an amble on that as well. But so that was really all we'd heard about the Zoat for quite a while. And then along comes Blackstone Fortress, and we get a fella by the name of there's the archivist or archivist, if you want to pronounce it correctly. And the archivist is a Zoat who, like all of his kind, is a master manipulator that uses other species to aid in it collecting archaeotech. Now, should it encounter others who wish to do the same, the archivist will draw upon all of its technology and intellect to disrupt their activities or mold them to its purpose. Those it cannot coerce in this way soon find themselves facing much more hostile methods, as the archivist will not hesitate to engage with its formidable atomic disassembler or eradicator glove to destroy all who resist its manipulations. Its constant quest to recover archaeotech led the archivist to travel to the space station Precipice, where the Zoat presented itself as a data trader. It sought to collect archaeotech from the nearby 7th Blackstone Fortress, and the archivist lied and made lucrative promises to numerous groups of explorers in order to get them to collect the relics for it. Among the archaeotech successfully recovered by these groups were the remains of a Zoat spacecraft and another relic of the archivist's race, known as the Grail Intulia. Once it had stockpiled a large cache of archaeotech, however, the archivist promptly disappeared, leaving many promises unfulfilled and many hapless allies trapped in the maddening depths of the fortress. The Zoat now roams the galaxy, continuing to recover archaeotech amidst the anarchy brought about by the Great Rift's creation. All of that put aside, the archivist is such a cool mini. It is just so cool.
Yeah, ridiculously good. Like, and such an improvement. You know, it's almost like, as I said, like the original miniature of the Rogue Trader era and all that is here have at it. Do you know what I mean? Like come up with an idea, and this is refinement of that idea and taking it and going, we understand what you were trying to do. You didn't quite hit the marker here, but this is where it should have been taken. And like
this is what happens with 30 years of advanced technology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you know another miniature like that for me is Nagash as well? I know it's a big step away from what we normally talk about, but
you talk about the old giant Nagash?
Yeah, the old giant Nagash.
Yes.
Right? And then they bring out, when they did the coming of age of Sigma, they brought out the Nagash on that throne, whatever it was, and you're just like, wow, that is like almost incomparable to the old one. You know, the old one has a charm of its own because it is an older miniature, but the new one was just mind-blowing. And that is the same with the Zoat as well. Like the old one, you can see the concept, the idea and the charm that it has, and then the new one is like, holy mackerel, this is in 40k. Do you know what I mean? This is in Space Marine styled armor. This isn't some hard-faced Imperial Guard tank or whatever the case might be, or some well-known alien race that we are aware of. This is something completely off-kilter, completely different, and it's refreshing to see, but also at the same time so beautifully executed as well. So that's one thing for the miniature. For everything that you've mentioned there, the Zoat itself is such a fascinating way to incorporate some really wild out there elements into gangs of 40k. Gangs of Necromunda, or even into a 40k army or something like that. Like,
I swear that the Archivist had rules where you could use him in 40k.
Oh, I don't know.
Or he had like a data slate or something.
He probably does. We'd have to do a little bit of ferreting. But if you do yourself a favour, you haven't seen it, the Zoat from Blood Bowl is also amazing.
You mean Zolcath the Zoat? The next thing I was going to talk about? Oh.
It's just ridiculous. Like, that belongs in 40k. Do you know what I mean?
That belongs wherever he wants to go.
Yeah. So, but anyway, what I was saying about the Zoat itself and their race and their people is this can fit into a 40k army as well, because, as I said, I've been doing a lot of reading regarding Imperial agents and like the broad spectrum of them as Inquisitors with retinues and all that, and the freedom that you have within that army list allows for something for this to be included. You know, how you would include it, I don't know. It's beyond me, but you could genuinely put something like this in, and the same applies for Necromunda, where you have that freedom and the capacity. But I could almost see it more like a big bad, an end of campaign thing that has just been, stealing archaeotech from underneath the noses of the Vansar, or been sending out its agents into the scrap heap and trying to recover the small elements of archaeotech that are left on, or not small elements, the vast amounts of elements of archaeotech that may still be on Necromunda. And this would make a perfect end boss for a campaign, because it would be incredibly tough, incredibly powerful, and also have the intelligence and the psychic capacity as well. So imagine a gang trying to take on this thing, just going like, mate, I don't need this in my life. This thing is going to smash the living, brains out of me. But what can you do? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, dude. I immediately look at the Zoat models. So the Archivist from Blackstone Fortress, and then Zolcath the Zoat. They are, in my mind, perfect stand-ins for Ogrins in a Venator gang.
I think they're almost too good for Ogren.
No. Not free Ogrins, Venator Ogrins. You give them you give the Archivist Carapace armor, Power Fist, Plasma Pistol, you tool him up. You give him a whole mess of gas so he turns into a psyker. Like, whereas Zolcath, you give him some heavy armor, you give him a friends-on collar, you turn him into a straight up has gone full-blown mercenary side of the sort of the Zoat stepping away from the Tyranid hive mind.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So it has actually gone a bit Cocoa Bananas from it.
Yeah. Because it's literally, it says that, hey, I've stepped away and I've become this this individual as opposed to someone who's being forced to lie to these species to have them absorbed by the Tyranid hive mind, and instead I'm unable to cope as an individual, and instead I sell my services as a warrior and go from battle to battle. I can imagine fighting against Tyranids, trying to be killed by them, so I can be reabsorbed.
Or maybe just, I don't know, fighting against gene stealer cults to try and make its presence known. So it has particular.
Can you imagine this going to Secundus? Send me to Secundus. I need to fight everything.
It's actually quite funny. I can imagine that thing rolling up to Secundus and it's like, that's not a Spira.
No.
That looks like a whole lot of trouble. Oh, it's charging. Okay.
And can you imagine the poor Siberian enforcer who's trying to stop it? Excuse me there, lizard monster. Can you please stop? No. Fair enough.
Very good, sir. Very good.
Even the nomads sort of look at it and be like,
yeah,
nope. Nope, that is a lot of trouble I'm not willing to get in.
That is bigger than what my imagination can work on, so I don't want to fight that thing at all. Look, I see your representation of an ogre for them, yes.
Yeah.
I can see it.
You would go to town, this is someone this is you could do a Zoat leading a Venator gang. So you'd do the Archivist as your leader, you'd do Zolcath as one of your champions, and then you'd fill it with Kroot and Beastmen and all these sort of mixed individuals, as well as a couple of humans, obviously, maybe a squat, maybe a Goliath, and sort of really mix it up with them.
They'd all have to be rejected. Sorry, I just popped straight in.
No, that's exactly it. That
has
to be
from their own people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And you can imagine, it's just listen, I need a bunch of them would be searching for archaeotech, and they know that Secundus is the best place to go. And it's a double whammy. I can get some fancy new toys because I need them to make myself better, but also I get to kill Tyranids. So I'm gonna take advantage of this situation, and I'm going to do that. And if all of you have to die, that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
As a matter of fact, I might kill some of you now, so that
I'm going to kill that guy so we understand how serious I am about being fine with you all dying.
That's great. But I think you bang on the money there. It is a Venator gang waiting to happen. I still personally think, given their intelligence, their amazing technology, their capacity to be psychers, they are the perfect all-round, nasty. You know what I mean? So I can sort of see them either being the leader, the big bad, or do you know what? Actually, do you know what they'd be brilliant as an advisor to House Ty or something like that?
You know what I mean? Oh no, Delark are gonna have a Zoat somewhere.
Yes.
Because can you imagine a Zoat affected by the Psychoterica?
Oh my lord, covered in mayonnaise.
Can people stop sending me that video? I'd say once every 2 days I get I'm lured in. It's like, oh, check this out. And I press play, and it's just that guy covering himself in mayonnaise.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can't eat mayonnaise anymore. You've all ruined it
Oh,
for me.
rubbish. You cover yourself in it and occasionally just put a swimming cap on just so that you got the bald head going. Just cover yourself in mayonnaise. What are you doing back there, honey? Nothing. Just playing some Necromunda.
Podcasting.
You podcast. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, imagine that as an advisor. How cool would that be?
Yeah, that would be sick.
And when you go and speak to this gang or this leader or whatever, you're aware of this shadow in the background. You're aware of this hulking figure, but it uses its minor psychic ability to just create a distortion, so you can't quite understand or see, work out what you're seeing. And as you look, the harder you look, the more it hurts your eyes and hurts your brain. But you've got to focus on the discussion you're having with either House Delark or whichever house is employed or is being manipulated by this Zoat.
So, I have a gang idea, but it's from something I've just read here. Now, Zoats are a highly intelligent and technologically advanced species, capable of manipulating other life forms through arcane devices and subterfuge. While the agenda and true nature of the Zoats remains inscrutable, the common link between their actions is their recurrent interest in obtaining technological artifacts. Besides the technological artifacts they may acquire or craft, Zoats may also make use of tyrannid bioweaponry. Alright, now take that. And then take this part here. Combined with their manipulative talents, these devices enable Zoats to install themselves as ambassadors, power brokers, and data traders at the lawless frontiers of Imperial space. Even in places where Imperial authority is stronger, Zoats have been known to spread their influence by proxy, weaving webs of coercion until they have given themselves considerable power. Here's my gang idea, and it's going to double as my personal entry to our big bad listener lore competition for June or July.
I said he should be the big bad. That was...
Yeah, no, you said it. I'm stealing it. Imagine a Zoat who's managed to get onto Necromunda and has manipulated his way into controlling a Delark gang. Now, he uses them, so he gets them in by basically cornering one of them, capturing him, and starts to understand the Psychoterica, not becoming one with it, but is able to communicate with it and imply to other Delark that he has it. Alright? Now, by using this Delark gang, he spreads his influence, like it says there, weaving webs of coercion until they've given themselves considerable power. He uses this Delark gang, makes them more powerful with his technology and his ability to, the minor psychic powers, and creates them as a power base for himself to launch raids into Secundus to get not only data crystals, etc., but also archaeotech, but also to capture tyrannid creatures, the mouse strains, to bring them out, dissect them, and then take their DNA in an attempt to grow new tyrannid bioweaponry.
Oh.
So he basically then moves this sort of coalition of Delark gangs into Secundus, creates a base there, and is basically sort of like is using the Delark to bring in gangs and expeditionary forces and that sort of stuff, and then basically, as they're coming out, saying, yep, what have you got? Oh, I need that. Yep, cool, here's your money. Yep, no, what's that? I'll give you the credits now. You don't even need to take it to one of the data markets. You don't need to take it to one of the tech bazaars. I'll buy it from you right now. And I'll pay you 3 times what they'll give you anyway. There you go. No? Okay. 94 people have just shot you in the face. I'm going to take it for nothing.
I was about to say that as well. You're going to have that moment where they're like, no, this is my prize thing. I'm going to keep this. Well, you know what? You had two options to make a good choice, and you
I tried.
Yeah.
And, but then sort of and capturing malstrains and in an attempt to understand them, because not only wanting to create those bioweapons for himself to use, but also to create a bioweapon to use against the Tyranids.
Mate.
Because they understand Tyranids. The Zoats are so much smarter than we're giving them credit for. He can use the malstrain, I'm going to call it virus, in an attempt to cause Tyranids to no longer want to interact with each other. Like to imagine using the malstrain curse as a way to sort of vaccinate entire species against the Tyranids.
Just destroying their cohesion and their unity and whatever. And so what happens is, you infect a termagant unit and suddenly all the termagants around it. So it could be like their little birthing pool or genetic pool where they've come from. So they're all linked. Those maybe say 50 to 100 of those termagants suddenly just get a little bit all icky to the rest of the Tyranids and they turn on them. But the problem is they start devouring them, like in a very small amount. They start eating or destroying or whatever, or the Rippers get in there and they're like, oh, we've stuffed up a bit here, we're spreading this. And so they have to then sort of cut off maybe that tendril or something like that, or cut off part of them. So they're destroying themselves internally as well. It wouldn't be massive. Like if it was on a planet, it might be one little part of a battlefield where that might happen. Oh, and I could just imagine this Zoat has experienced it or seen something like that before, where perhaps, a gene stealer cult has made contact with an element from the Hive fleet, and he's just watched them just get torn to shreds, you know what I mean?
Perfect.
Not eaten, not assimilated into the biomass, just left. And it's like, hang on a second, I see something here. They haven't killed them, they haven't destroyed them, because they look at them as a poison, as a potential pathogen that's going to work through us. Yeah, Perfect. I like this character. I like this character a lot. Do you know what? This is not a gang idea. This is a dramatis personae.
Yeah, this is my idea for the big bad.
Well, you stole it from me.
Yeah, but it's totally original.
You stole the idea from the internet, and you stole the concept from me.
Guaranteed.
As long as you're comfortable with it, that's fine. I'm happy that you're happy.
Believe you me, I am.
By the way, I have been doing my research, and not to distract anything from your big bad, Battle Masters. Ring a bell?
Battle Masters, no.
Oh, great game. For any of you old souls out there, I think it was Milton Bradley and Games Workshop coordinating together to come up with this fantastic mat-based game. Brilliant. Played it when I was like, maybe I was like a 12-year-old, 13-year-old. I can't quite remember. It was a fantastic game. Me and my brother used to play it against each other all the time. But jumping back to the Zoat Big Bad, I think it's just such a fantastic idea because the malstrain is so unique to Necromunda that it would be drawn to that. It would have seen on some battlefield somewhere where the Tyranids, for use of a better term, were scared of something.
Absolutely, and it would recognise that the Tyranids, when they interact with the malstrains cause fear, they cause terror, they cause a breakdown of the hive, and this Zoat would look at that and go, "This is how." There's also. This Zoat is a horrible person. It is using these Dalark. It is willingly killing dozens, if not hundreds, of people who are going into Secundus to effectively get stuff for him. But at the end of the day, it's all for a good cause, because in the Zoat's mind, this is how it saves its kind.
Yeah, totally. I've lost a little bit of my memory about what you said regarding how it interacts with the Psychoterica, though. Is it layering itself over the Psychoterica, or
No,
is it has it?
it's a camouflage. It
Yes.
reminds me. I'm in my mind. It reminds me of the. Are they the mirror shields of the Dark Eldar, where they can use their shields to appear as other vessels in like other spacefaring vessels,
Oh no,
or
I've never
mimic
heard of that.
fields or something like
Yeah,
that?
the mirror shield I always thought was a spire weapon thing.
Possibly,
Yeah,
possibly.
yep. Mimic
But
shield. Yeah,
Mimic
right.
Shield, I think, is what it's called. But the Zoat would. Have you ever watched the TV show Heroes?
Yes, save the
There
cheerleader. Yeah,
is,
save the
yes,
world.
there's the guy, was his name like Skylar or Skyver? His superpower was understanding, and he would basically cut people's like skulls open
Yeah,
and
he
then
was
study their brain.
the
Yeah, he
main
was the big
bad.
bad, but he would study their brain so he would understand their power. And in my mind, this Zoat, once he understood the Psychoterica, was able to mimic it, was able to manipulate because the Psychoterica is effectively a psychic connection, and this
Yeah,
Zoat is able to manipulate that psychic connection to his own benefit.
yeah, I love it. This is freaking awesome, man. That's exactly the kind of character that you could see where maybe maybe the Dalak are hunting it as well. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, the Star Chamber
They're
would
like,
not be happy.
yeah, they're seeing not a grey on the vast map of mines, but like a dark spot, something that flickers in and out and changes
Yes,
position. But
yes,
we know it doesn't belong within our Psychoterica. We know there is something very, very wrong here. And it doesn't spread, but it certainly pulsates and grows. And that's where it gains more members and then just maybe wipes them out to make it easier for it to constantly be like shadowed, to make it constantly feel protected from the Psychoterica. So
perfect.
it recruits like 30, 40 Dalak gangers and then has them killed. And then it goes and recruits another more simply just by whispering into the Psychoterica. And they come to Secundus. Yeah.
Perfect.
I really, this would be great for a campaign or just a story. And then there would be hunters. There would be Xenos hunters. There would be the Cawdor hunters, knowing that there is. Everybody says there is something out there that is impacting House Delark, but it is an abomination to the Imperium.
Yeah.
And so Inquisitors, Space Marines, all that would be getting a little tingling of we need to go down there and kill this because we all know this is such a horrible thing. And anybody with any sort of psychic relation or psychic ability would understand that there is a poison out there near Secundus, and it is not Secundus, it's much worse.
Yeah,
This,
that's
yeah,
exactly it. Yes.
yeah, yes. I love it, love it. Wow. All right. So I guess we've talked about 3 minor Xenoses, and to be honest with you, after we've chatted about them, they don't feel so minor. They feel like
No.
they're integral parts of the 40k structure or Necromunda structure. So I guess I feel like this is a series we could come back to. And
There's so many we could touch on. Like you mentioned them before, the Jakero. Like, man, the Jakero are an episode to themselves. Then you've got like the Rakgol and the Enslavers, the Sloth, like the
Sloth,
might. Oh, dude, they're maggot monsters. They're sick.
yeah. Oh, those no, yuck.
Yeah, yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's all sorts of minor Xenos that we could definitely come back to, and and if there's a Xenos race anyone particularly wants to like hear about or talk about, or if you want Tom's contact information so you can blame him for the fact that we've just spent like 2 hours talking about this, I will give that to you as well. There's no friends in podcasting, Tom.
I don't think you should, could, or probably will do that. I actually you probably will. So don't. It's a should or a could. Shouldn't.
No, I will.
You should.
I will. He's dead to me.
Great.
But no, yeah, I'm definitely want to come back and talk to this. We've gotten a lot of requests to sort of go into some more general 40k stuff, and sprinkling in a little bit of that is great because I think it takes our perspective away from just Necromunda so much and sort of says, hey, there's a whole galaxy of stuff we can bring in into Necromunda and sort of say, let's do something dumb and have some fun.
Yeah, look, I think also, just so that we're clear, we're not going anywhere. Like, we're not abandoning Necromunda in any way,
God,
shape, or
no.
form. No. We are still very much in love with that beast. And, I think it's just adds a little bit of flavour. So, yeah. If you want to hear more, please let us know in the comments if you guys are happy with the content we're doing.
And if you want to hear less, I will give you Tom's email.
Yes, do that.
Yes.
But please tell us
That's
if you
how
want to
we
hear
do
more, because we want to hear that.
Yeah. And okay, we should probably finish this bad boy with a quote. And for this one here, I'm actually going to one of my absolute favourite characters from the Horus Heresy and even modern 40k. He's not as, successful and popular as my boy Erebus, but he is right up there when it comes to true word bearers douchebaggery. And the quote is as follows: hate the Xenos as you hate the infidel, as you hate the non-believer. Feel not mercy for them, for their very existence is profane. What right have they to live, those that are the other? And that is Call Pharaon of the Word Bearers Legion.
Now, normally I don't interrupt after these, but my man Call Pharaon, this is the other reason why I love the Word Bearers. Listen to that. That inspires me. Let's just stomp them all out. Unless you're wearing an Imperial Eagle, kiss the ground, baby. You're done. I love it. Well done. Well done, Call Pharaon. You did nothing wrong. Neither did Erebus.
Erebus did nothing wrong. All right, before we get hate mail, bye, Scummers.
Bye.
And that was our latest episode of the Underhive Lorekeepers podcast. I am Spamuel, and on behalf of the Lorekeeper team, thank you for listening. Please follow us on our social media pages available in the show notes, and don't forget to follow and review us on your preferred podcast platform. As always, if you have questions, complaints, corrections, or if you too hate the Xenos for no reason further than their existence, and rightfully so, please reach out to us at underhivelorekeepers@gmail.com. Thanks.